And then number 5, the last one, if you're working out at home, she's given 5 examples here. The body squat, super fast, the push-up, modified or on the ground, sprinting in place, and number 4 was jumping rope or a simulated jump rope, and number 5 is now the plank and the side bridge. Number 5, I've got that, I put it in. How do you like that?
Love it.
It wasn't in here, but I put it in for her. So go ahead and go down to the ground. Show people the side bridge, what it should look like. Yeah. So can you get her feet, Dr. Webster?
Yes.
Okay, so if you notice, she has her legs straight. She's supporting herself with her forearm and keeping herself suspended up in the air. Tina, I want you to bend to both knees and just go on your knees, get your feet behind you. Good. Now here's a modified version for people who are not strong enough to do it because you can get hurt. Now do the plank, and the plank is when you're on both forearms, and this is important to get her butt. Go a little hot, just a hair higher. Okay, so this is important to get her butt. She's doing a plank where she's facing the ground, she's on her toes and her forearms, and her whole body's suspended in the air. Now here's what you do if you're weak at this. Go to your knees, Tina. Take your feet up in the air toward the ceiling. See how she's modified that. Or what you can do once you're past that, go back to your toes. Take your butt really high, super, super high. And that's what people can do right there. And as you get stronger, you can lower your butt toward the ground, lower and slower, so you support your lower back. And that's it for a home workout. So go ahead and bring the camera back to where normal is. And Tina's going back. How do you feel after that?
I feel good. I'm ready to go eat some turkey.
Oh my God. You know, I would love to, she's a little bit out of breath. I would love to have timed that. Davey, how long is that? When did we come back on? 10 after? She gave the story. It was about 4 minutes, I'm guessing. Something like that?
It's a 10-minute workout, the whole thing.
The whole thing's about a 10-minute workout that she did. Depending on your recovery times and what else? How many times?
Depending on how many times you do. I mean, if you could put all those exercises back to back with the recovery time that you need, anywhere from 30 seconds to maybe 2 minutes for some people. And then you go to the next exercise, do those 5 things in a row, and then go back and do them again. I mean, doing that twice, the big giant set twice, probably take you 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You see her how out of breath she is?
Do that and then try to talk on the radio.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean,
I used to teach aerobics and have to, I'm out of practice, talk and work out at the same time.
I love it. I think that's fantastic. Did you want to make any comments, Dr. Webster?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, why would this type of exercise be better for you when you're under stress rather than your continuous jogging?
Well, it's like we've talked about. We've spoken about how the continuous jogging actually can decrease testosterone levels, increase cortisol levels, and decrease adrenal gland function, and kind of just tap it out. And that's what happened with the burst training. It elevates testosterone levels, it decreases cortisol levels, and so it doesn't wear your body down physiologically like the excessive running did for me. I mean, it's obvious. When I do these workouts, I feel great.
So what Tina's saying with all of that is aerobic training increases inflammation and stresses the body more. No matter what it does for your mind, where you get the runner's high, you're releasing endorphins because the body's stressed, by the way. But when you do burst training like she just did, it actually decreases inflammation, actually helps you to recover faster and lower stress.
Exactly.
So there's that. So we'll move beyond that. Let's get into the eat this, not that. Dr. Webster, let's start it off.
All right. The first thing people always think of when they think of Thanksgiving, Christmas, any of the holidays is turkey, right? Well, I had never heard of frying a turkey until I was probably 20 years old at least.
I'm with you.
And then, do you like the fried turkey?
Sounds disgusting.
No? Okay, so it's kind of new to me.
Never had it,
but a lot of people love a fried turkey, but they fry it in peanut oil, which, by the way, is an unsaturated fat. For anybody out there, if you fry something or heat an unsaturated fat like peanut oil, soybean oil, corn oil, vegetable oil, any of the unsaturated fats, you destroy those fats. They're no good. They're damaging. They're bad for your heart. They're just simply unhealthy.
Doesn't it change the molecular structure of the fat, is what you're saying?
It does.
Therefore, It's not a healthy fat anymore. It becomes a bad fat.
It does. It is unsaturated. It has a bunch of bends in it. Everywhere there's a double bond, there's a bend in the fat. And when you heat it up, it breaks that double bond and can rearrange it into a straight fat. So when you get these fats in your cells, they don't have a lot of volume to them. There's no bends. They all become very straight. Think of like a stack of pencils. They all stack together real tight, like pencils, because they're all straight. And they make your cells so they're not fluid. You can't bring in oxygen. You can't bring in nutrients. You can't get rid of toxins because they are things like trans fats. That's what trans fats are. Is these very straight molecules that are supposed to have a bunch of bends in them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you're creating when you fry things in these unsaturated oils. That's why I always go back to using coconut oil, ghee, butter. Olive oil is okay because it only has one unsaturated bond in it, so it's a lot more stable than these peanut oils and corn oil and things like that. But the bottom line is there's ways that there's things we can do to get away from this unhealthy turkey. It's just not healthy when you fry it in peanut oil.
Does the oil just all absorb into the meat? So you're basically getting it just loaded with all the oil when you eat a piece of turkey.
Yeah, it
doesn't,
really does.
it doesn't, because it seems like it would just coat on the outside, but actually absorbs into the turkey.
It does.
Well, the thought is that if you take off the skin, that it's okay to have in the turkey. Now, if you were to use the other oils, then it's okay.
if you were going to use ghee or
But-
coconut oil.
yeah,
maybe,
exactly.
yeah. Sure.
And ghee is Ghee, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's clarified butter. But there's other ways to make turkey: roast it or bake it. Those are very very healthy ways. They don't add to your calorie content, and they certainly don't. You don't have to worry about the unhealthy fats that are involved.
Here's a this not that type of eating. Sweet potato, add butter to it if you want. Even add cinnamon to it versus a white potato. So we want you to enjoy the holiday. We want you to still have good tasting food. People have sweet potatoes all the time, but you can have a sweet potato. You can have real butter, by the way, and I would also throw cinnamon on it. So there's an eat this, that, not that
Get this.
suggestion.
To add to that, if you want the sweet type of sweet potato, like the candied yams,
Yeah,
use xylitol rather than sugar.
right.
You can use butter, you can use cinnamon, then you have a candied yam, but you don't have all this excess sugar and refined carbohydrate in there.
Do you have an eat this, not that idea, Tina?
Um,
I've got several more.
I'm gonna
I know.
let Dr. Webster do this one because
No, it's fine.
I just
I
eat
didn't-
what I'm served usually.
Oh my God! There
Another
you go.
staple, another
Depending
staple
where I am.
holiday, pumpkin pie.
Oh, bro,
Right.
I had a whole one last night.
No,
did you
didn't.
use
You ate a whole
xylitol?
one?
Xylitol my butt. I had a whole pumpkin pie. Look,
You're not
what have I
supposed to
said
say
before?
that.
If I'm going to eat bad, I'm going all out. And I'm going to give people a tip. I wrote this on my blog, by the way, the holiday eating without the guilt. You can visit that now if you'd like. I'll share some of that with you in a little while when we come back. But go ahead about your fake
busting his
pumpkin
chops
pie.
with that.
It's not even fake. It tastes just as good.
Go ahead.
Xylitol tastes just like white sugar.
You know
So
what?
use the xylitol rather than the sugar. Use everything else the same. And one other tip: rather than use a white crust pie, just that you get off the shelf, you can get a whole wheat pie. I know whole wheat isn't that great, but it is better than a white flour
So how
crust.
does one know how much xylitol to use
It's a
versus
1 to
sugar?
1.
Are you gonna?
1-to-1. Yeah, a cup
It
of
is-
sugar equals a cup of xylitol.
Oh, okay. Well,
The thing that we found out about, and we have to go to break, the thing we found out about xylitol is I was actually going to create a business called haveyourcakeandeatit2.com. Number one, the domain's taken, so that's not going to happen. Number two, I was going to create like brownies and stuff like that with xylitol, and I had a friend of mine who is kind of like a chemist. She has this degree and knows about everything to do with mixing all of these chemicals, but especially to do it when it comes to food, when making food. She did this with xylitol. The thing that we found out about xylitol is you have to melt it first, then you put it in the food, the dessert that you want. The problem is once it gets cold again, it crystallizes again. So it doesn't stay melted. So you don't have a brownie that tastes just like a brownie. You have these little granules in there. While it's still sweet, it's not just like a regular brownie. And although they're very small, I don't think the business would do well at all because it changed the flakiness also of the brownie. It wasn't as chewy.
crunchy.
So while xylitol, it wasn't crunchy. So while xylitol is a fantastic alternative to getting your sweet cravings handled, it may not have the same consistency in what you're used to having. So when you say have xylitol in pumpkin pie, I don't know what that would do if I had that in pumpkin pie because I know it recrystallizes again.
Okay.
So there's that. It's not that it's not an option, but just keeping in mind that that's what happens when you bake with xylitol. So coming up next, we have more Eat This, Not That, and also another workout from Tina Burnett. It's 726 Sports Radio 1310, 732 Sports Radio 1310, The Ticket. George D. John on the Train Station Fitness Show. Guests in the studio, Dr. Jeremy Webster, and also Tina Burnett. What we're doing is we're giving you strategies, things to think about. So when you're going to have your holidays and you're going to have your cheating and you want to enjoy yourself, to be able to do it, enjoy yourself without the guilt. We have a little bit of this, eat this, not that, and some workouts today. Let's do some more eat this, not that stuff. Go ahead, Dr.
Okay.
Webster.
We already mentioned turkey, we mentioned pie, we mentioned mashed potatoes. The other big Thanksgiving food, of course, is stuffing,
Right.
dressing. So a patient of mine just told me a great way to reduce your carbohydrate, reduce your starch intake, make this a lot healthier.